Hey guys, Gavin Magic back again. This is part 2 of the Card Market Watch for July 6, 2025. So we're going to do a deep dive into the card market and just take a look at all the different sets and prices, how many cards are in circulation total, and how many are on the marketplace. So we're going to start like we always do with Alpha. So right now you're looking at Alpha Commons. The cheapest Alpha Common currently is sitting at 40 cents. 20 commons in the set. They go all the way up to $11 for the Minotaur Warrior. I want to see if this is for a single BCX. Yes, it is. So you definitely don't want to pay $11 for a single copy. As you can see here, looking at the combined copies, you're running between 65 and 70 cents a copy. And that's right where I would put this card, probably, a 60 to 70 cent card. So that is Alpha Commons. You can see here, not very many on the marketplace, under 10 for most of these. We've got a couple that are up to 22 or 30. But as far as commons go, not very many on the market. Looking at the rares, so now you're looking at cards that are just over 2,000 in total circulation available, starting at $1.28 up to $24.75 for Medusa. Once again, this is for a single copy. Normally the copy would run about $2.25, so don't pay $24 per BCX for that card, definitely. This is also the beginning of the Summoners or the Archons. So if we just take a look at the Archons in the set, you can see they range from $1.45 for Malric up to $6.40 for Tyrus. And just a handful of each of these available on the marketplace. All right, moving to the epics. So you've got 10 epics in the set. They're all represented here, ranging from $4.54 for the Dark Enchantress up to $49.50 for Defender of Truth. Once again, let's take a look at how many are in circulation. So over 1,000 up to, what is it, like 1,200 or so. Fire Demon is actually under 1,000 cards in circulation. And your legendaries, 9 in the set. You can see all 9 here. Cheapest currently is Spirit of the Forest at $28, up to Selenia's Sky at $345. That is for your Archon or Summoner. And you've got high 300s to, it looks like, low 400 for Alpha Legendary cards. Looking now at the gold foils, so your commons, I've got just, 3 of them under 20, and actually only 4 of them under $30 for a common. So not very many choices if you're looking for a cheap Alpha gold foil common. Of course, they go up to $220 for the Pirate Captain. So all 20 cards are available on the marketplace. You can see here, total print runs, you're looking in the 300 range for most of these cards. And this for commons, remember. So very, very few of these cards out there in circulation. One of the reasons I'm so bullish long-term on Alpha Packs. Moving to rares, now you can see just a couple here under 50, then it quickly jumps to $100 for the Twisted Jester, and then $120 on up for your rares. 17 of the 20 rares are represented here, up to $1,500 for Tyrus. So there are your gold foil rares. Looking at your epic cards, surprisingly, all 10 gold foil epics for Alpha are on the marketplace. Looks like there's, anywhere from 2 to 6 copies of each, but look at the print runs. 66, 75, so now you're getting extremely rare, and these are just the epics. Well under 80 copies of all of these are available. And then if you really want to look at rare, look at the legendaries. Only 21 in existence, 17, 22. 5 of the 9 legendary cards are available for sale. Lord of Darkness, you can see here at $27.50. Spirit of the Forest, $7,000. Selenia's Sky, $11,000. Gold Dragon, $24,000. And Angel of Light, $30,000. These 2 are the only ones available currently on the marketplace. And you can see, like Angel of Light, there's only 13 in circulation. All right, let's look at the Alpha promo cards now. Let's look just at the regular foil. So there was one of each rarity. The common is currently listed at $253, the rare at $490, and the epic at $39.99. Legendary is currently not available for sale on the marketplace. Moving on to the gold foils. Same with the gold foils. Only 3 of the 4 are available. But this time there is the epic that is not available. So the common is going for $17. The rare for $500, only 200 in circulation. And then the gold foil legendary card, Shinlo, there's only 43 in circulation. This one is available for $2,200. So that is it for alpha. Next, let's look at beta, just the core and reward cards at the commons. And as I mentioned in part 1, the low end of the common cards has been like slowly creeping up over the last few months. You know, for a while you could get some of the beta reward cards for as cheap as like 3, 4, 5 cents a piece. Now they've moved up to 8 cents is the floor for all these common cards. So there is a little bit of movement on these cards. Not a lot, but considering these are betas, you know, that is kind of a significant increase when you go from 3 cents, 4 cents up to 8. Most expensive currently is the Spineback Turtle at $1.98. You can see the amount of cards in circulation here. And then of course you can tell from the regular set to the reward cards. The reward cards have that huge jump in print run. So if we look just at the reward cards, so these were the common reward cards you could get. You could see it's anywhere from just under 40,000 up to, you know, 60,000 of these reward cards. So with all these cards being printed, you know, that's why the price is right around 10 cents a piece. Okay, let's look next at the rares. So your beta rares, you're starting at 27, 28 cents is the floor. Up to, one of the cards I like to kind of keep an eye on is the chicken. So he's currently at 39 cents. And then the other one is Ulrich. Ulrich is usually right around $2 or the low, you know, 225, 250 range. Hobgoblin sitting at 475. That's kind of an anomaly. That is for an individual copy. Definitely do not pay $4.75 for a single copy of this card. Let's see, what should it be? It should be right around a 40-cent card. Let's take a look next at the Archons in the set. So your Archons for beta, you're looking at anywhere from 30 cents up to just under $2 for Ulrich. Okay, let's move on to the Epics. Epics, starting to get close to that $1 floor. Cheapest is 81 cents for Fire Spitter. So for these, you've got anywhere from, you know, 2,000 for the regular set up to 6,000 to 8,000 because of them being reward cards. Most expensive is Talia, sitting at just over $14. If we look at the Archons in this set, these you can see are probably the more pricey ones, you know, including Talia, as we just mentioned, at $14. And then finally your legendary cards. Starting, this is the only one that's under $5 for a beta legendary. Spirit Miner at $4.82. Cryptmancer sitting at $9. That seems very low for a legendary summoner. Up to, look at Lord of Darkness. This is another card I like to keep an eye on. He's up to 40. Voldemort's down to 35. I remember when he was like, what, $75 up to 100 per BCX. So he has come down in price. Still $250 for a max card, or just over $22 a copy. But the big movement right now, 165 for Prince Renan, and that is for a max level card. So individually, card 15 bucks or so. That's about right. I usually see individual copies of him anywhere from $15 to $20. So just no individual copies for sale currently on the marketplace. Okay, that's it for the regular foils. So looking at the gold foil now, starting with gold foil commons, floor is $2. You can see it goes all the way up to $19.95 for Rexy. Just a few hundred of each of these in circulation. Then you get into the reward cards, and you're looking at 1,500 to like 2,500. Okay, moving up to the rares. Furious Chicken, $9. He's the cheapest one. That is kind of surprising. That probably one of the best rares is the cheapest one. So it might be a good deal. $9 for a gold foil chicken. Up to the most expensive is Pirate Archer at $321, but it is the only one in the marketplace, so that is why the high price. Same thing with Cockatrice, only 2 in the market, that's why it's $135. Only one Cyclops at $70. I mean, compare it to an Archon, Ulrich at $35. That should kind of give you an idea of where these cards should be, probably around, $40 or less. So you start seeing ones that are 70 and more, at this point, they're probably overpriced. But then again, there's some good deals to be had. Like I mentioned, the chicken at $9 might be a little low. Prismatic Energy is another good card. Cerebrus, sitting at right around $10. So sometimes there are deals to be made on the marketplace, but also, like I said, also look out for cards that may be overinflated simply because they're the only ones on the market. Okay, moving to epics. Cheapest epic currently is just under $40. Up to Xander's, the most expensive, sitting at $650. Once again, these are both summoners, only ones on the marketplace, so that is part of the reason of the high price. Looks like probably these should be more, maybe closer to the $100 range. And then finally, your gold legendaries start at just under $375 for the low end. Up to Voldemort and Prince Renan, once again, still sitting there at $5,500. But look at this bottom row. Actually, the last, 9 cards. These are all just individual ones on the marketplace. So that is also part of the reason of the high price. Okay, so now let's look at promo cards. So looking at just the regular foil promos, we went over all these prices in part 1, so I won't recap all the prices. You can see them here. Main thing I want to show you guys is just kind of take note of how many are on the market, and then how many total cards are there available in circulation. One of the reasons I like doing the part 2 is we can just kind of have a record to see how many are in circulation and on the marketplace from episode to episode. And then for your gold foil versions, there's only the 3 available here. The Common Summoner, the Fiendish Harpy, and the Red Dragon. And you can see the print run, how many are on the marketplace here. Okay, that's it for the promos. Now let's take a look at orbs. So this is the entire orb set. We went through the prices in part 1 for the legendary cards. This is the entire set, 12 cards, only the 2 epics, the Mermaid Healer at 98 cents, Dwarven Wizard at $1. So usually not a whole lot of price movement week to week on the set. Even the legendary cards seem to range from, anywhere from $5 to $12 or $13 for the 3 legendaries. Just kind of want to give you a visual of how many are on the market and how many are total in circulation. And then for your gold foil, 11 of the 12 are represented here. The only one that is not on the marketplace is the Mermaid Healer, the other epic card. So there are your gold foils from Orb. Nice to have a small set like that. It makes it so quick and easy to go through. Okay, looking at Untamed, so let's just look at the commons. Low-end cards are at $1. So once again, if you're one of those people that plays survival mode, don't just look at Chaos Legion as being a place that you can pick up some cheap cards. Don't forget about sets like Untamed as well, where you can pick up a lot of decent common cards for just a few pennies. Even cards like Failed Summoner, he's down to 8 cents now. He's usually one of the more pricey ones in the set. Same thing with Sandworm. Sandworm is usually, 8 to 10 cents, so I'm surprised to see this one up to 34 cents. Yeah, and there's actually only 3 copies under, and then you start jumping to 46 cents or more. So this is a card that has really gone up in the last few months since I've been doing the Market Watch. Like I said, I'm used to seeing him around 10 cents or a little bit lower. So where is the Serpentine Spy? That's also another one, okay, that I like looking at. He's up to 41 cents. So usually it's been the Spy and the Failed Summoner have been a couple of the more pricey ones. But there are some decent cards, like I said, that are here that are just for a few pennies. You know, you get the Herbalist leveled up for 4 cents. Warrior Peace is only 2. Demented Shark with the Inspire for only 2 cents. So there are some deals to be had for survival mode. Looking at the rares, which also will include some Archons. You're 5 cents for the cheapest 2, then you're 7 cents and up. Unicorn Mustang, I remember facing that card all the time when that card was out. Same thing with Shield Bearer with the Taunt. So your most expensive card currently is Mother Kala at $16.50. This should be a okay, and this is actually a max card. So if you're looking to pick up a max level summoner for only 14 cents per card, which is actually very good. Actually, all 3 of these I think are pretty decent. You're getting a max level summoner for under 20 cents a card. So if you are someone that plays in Wild or looking for a decently priced summoner for survival mode, definitely check out Mother Kala. One of the benefits to watching the Market Watch video that I put out every weekend is sometimes I can show you some deals that are out there. I would say that's probably one of them. Let's just take a look quickly at all the Archons. So this, of course, is for the max copies, the 3 max copies starting at $16.50. Individual copies you can see here, these 4 are 25 cents or less. Bortus I've seen anywhere from 35 to 45 cents. So if you start seeing him at 23 cents, there's a few copies here, and that would be worth picking up, I guess, to have for survival mode. Is there a max level one for sale? Okay, so there are several max level copies here. You can see they go from 26 quickly to 33, 34, 40, 50, 60. So the price goes up pretty quick. So to get a -1 magic summoner max level for under 30, that might not be a bad buy either at 23 cents a copy. All right, let's look next at your epic cards. So now you're looking at 21, 22 cents is the floor for the epics. Up to Axemaster at $1.17 a copy. And then finally your legendary cards start at $1.32. Moving on up to some of the key cards I always like to look at. Kron is sitting at $5.77. Almo Cambio has kind of fluctuated in price. He's under $8. So if you don't have an Almo, that's a pretty decent card. Got a couple legendary summoners here, $8.68, $9.79 for Mimosa. Llama's at 30. Kitty is just under 50. And look at this, Jotun's at 80. And that is for an individual card. Now you can see here, there's not very many individual cards for sale. You've got one for 80, 140, 150. So people can basically put the prices they want since there's not very many on the market. Actually, the $80 one is by Clove. Couple max level copies here for just under $500 or $45 a piece. So Jotun had been, I believe, down to under 30 for the last month or so. He'd been kind of drifting lower. Well, it looks like his price currently has gone back up. So that is probably the big movement of this week for Untamed Legendaries is Jotun. Okay, let's take a look now at your gold foil versions. So your gold foil commons in Untamed start at just right around 60 cents and up. So some of the key cards, like I said, I like to look at. Serpentine Spy for just over $1. Gold Sandworm for just under $2. Gold Filled Summoner for just under $4. Next for your rare cards, they start at $2.50, and this is for Summoner, so Gold Foil Summoner for $2.50, Wizard of Eastwood. All the way up to $7.50 for Bortus. Let's just take a look at the Archon / Summoners, anywhere from $2.50 to $7.50 range. Just a handful. Once again, look also at how many are available on the marketplace, because you do need 22 of these to max one out. So some of these might be max level, like here's a max level, or no, here's a level 6 for $38. So they're not all always just individual cards. Only 3 of Contessa. So this one is actually maxed for 95 or 430 a card. Then there's 4 copies for 18, a single copy for 44. So those are your Archons. Moving to the Gold Epics, now you start getting $13 plus for the Gold Epics. Up to $99 for the Chief. And then finally, your Gold Legendary cards, starting at $89 for Robo Dragon Knight. Only 121 in circulation. Up to Sacred Llama, who's just under $2,000. Only 90 gold llamas are floating out there in Splinterlands. Only 73 of Kitty for $725. 91 Jodens, $700 for Jodin. So once again, some of these cards are just extremely rare. So that's it for Untamed. Let's look at the promo cards from Untamed. So you've got the Halfling Alchemist and Chain Golem sitting at 97 cents, $14.45. Gold Halfling at 180, Chain Golem at 450, and then regular foil Mighty Dricken at 888. Moving on to dice. So let's just look at the commons. So you've got 6 commons in the set from 1 to 9 cents. The rares, and this set, all the cards that are in the rare slot are Summoners, Archons, 15 cents for Vera, 24 cents for Quid, Ouster at 24 cents, Bright and Bloom at 38, Lornshine at 52 cents, and Mylor is under $1 at 92 cents. Your 3 epics, 21 cents for the Mistress, 69 cents for Dragon Spirit, and Grenadier sitting at 97 cents. And then your legendary cards, Krallis is a card that I like to look at too. I've seen this card fluctuate wildly. You know, this week it's under $9. I've seen it 15, I've seen it 25. I think I've seen it as high as 30. So this one really fluctuates in price. So my gut feeling is if you find this card under 10 bucks, it's a pretty good deal. Same thing with Epona at $11. You know, I've seen this card 30 to 40. I've seen it 20, 25. So it kind of fluctuates all over. $11 seems like a pretty good price. So if you don't have these 2 cards in your collection looking to pick them up, this is probably on the lower end of where I've seen those 2 cards at. Okay, looking at your golds. So gold commons range from 62 cents, Battering Ram, very useful card. You know, 2 mana opportunity, up to $1.20 for Marrow's Ghost. Personally, I would reverse these 2, put Marrow's Ghost at 62 cents and put the Battering Ram at $1.20. Your rares, which are your summoners, another card I like to look at is Lornshine, very powerful summoner. Gold foil under $7 to me is just screams a must buy. Anything under 10, you know, for a gold summoner for this set, I think is a good deal. And even Mylor just over 11. So if it's one of those things where it's like, you know, you're a collector and just like to have like 1 card of each foil type, you know, in your collection, you know, you can't go wrong with picking up a gold foil Archon, I think, for under 10 bucks. I mean, think about it. Which would you rather have? You know, a couple packs of Rebellion, or you know, a beautiful card like this, a Gold Archon. In your epics, 2 of them are available here. And then finally, your Gold Legendary cards. There's only 3 of them available, and Krallis is sitting at $3.49. Okay, that's it for Untamed. Let's move to Chaos Legion. Just looking at the core set and the first set of reward cards. No surprises here, kids. You know they're cheap. You know they're a penny. Up to maybe a couple, 3 cents for the high-end ones. You know, when you get to the Goblin Psychic, the Chaos Agent, Deep Lurker, Scavo, Supply Runner, you know, these are, of course, the best cards. Even Disintegrator, you know, with the Demoralize. And then everything else is a penny. Just so many of those cards out there. Rares start, you know, just above Burn at 2 cents. Still tons of these on the marketplace. Up to 20 cents for Kelia. Your regular foil epics, once again, right around Burn, 10 cents. Up to 24 cents for Wave Brood. And then finally your legendary cards from Chaos Legion. They're holding about 50 cents. So Jin Murray sitting at 54 cents, Grom at 56. All the way up to, of course, your legendary summoners are usually on the top of the list. Surprisingly, I think this is the first time I've seen Grandmaster Wraith as the most expensive card in Chaos Legion at 349. He's usually the cheapest. Usually it's one of these three. Possibilis, Immortalis, or Lily are the most expensive. So, but still, you know, to be able to get a legendary summoner for just a couple of bucks, you know, if you're new to the game and, you know, looking to play in Wild, you know, you can't go wrong with picking up a single copy of a summoner and, you know, paying, you know, $2 or $3. So, all right, let's look at gold. So after that spike a couple months ago where these things went 40 cents plus, now they've come back down to the range that I'm used to seeing them in, you know, 15 to 17 cents per copy on the low end. Still a decent amount of most of these, as you can see. We'll take a look in a minute and see how many max level copies there are if you're interested in putting in max level gold's commons on your land. $1 for my Scavel Hireling is the most expensive currently. He's usually number one. But let's take a look at max level. So how many max level copies are available? And what are the prices? So it looks like $6 to, let's say, $6 to $7.50. You can get a pretty good, or $6 to $8. You know, Pellicor Bandit's a good card. So for $6 to $8, there's still a decent amount of selection as far as different splinters to put on land. But one of the things I want you guys to look at is look at how many copies are available. Not very many. You know, individual copies here, only 4 of the Deceiver, 2 of the Knifer, 4, 1. There are 12 mercenaries, so if you're looking for, actually I'm looking for Earth, so that's a decent card to look at. You know, 4 copies, 2 single copies here. So there are some good prices as far as, you know, $8 are cheap. For a max gold foil common, but just not very many on the marketplace. Okay, let's move up to your rares. So now your rares are starting right around 80 cents per copy for a gold rare for Chaos Legion. All the way up to, I always think Kelly is going to be number one. This week it's Damfer Infiltrator at $4.90. Let's take a look now. How many max copies are there available for sale? You can see how that list really shrunk down for rares. So now you're looking at basically, let's say 18 to 22 for the low end ones, including the Dragon Splinter. So you've got a choice of Dragon here, Life, Death, Water. So if you're looking for Earth, so if you're looking for Fire, your cheapest copy, it looks like 25, just 20, almost 26 for Tarsa. But yeah, not very many rares. And then my personal favorite, of course, is the Epics. $4.31 is your cheapest one, but this is for a neutral. So beyond that one, you're looking at $4.35 plus for a gold foil Epic. Up to Magi Necrosi at $9. Only a single copy of Wave Brood. These aren't for max, these are just for any. So if we look at max level, now it's really going to shrink down. And this is it for max level copies. So you can see a lot of these, there's only one max level copy available for sale on the marketplace. And it's going to run you anywhere from, let's say, $45 up to $100 for Insidious Warlock. But if you're just looking for Death Splinter, basically $45 to $51 to get a max level Epic gold foil. And then your gold legendaries, $25 is the floor for the cheapest couple. On up to some summoners right around 30. 31 for a Wraith and Astral Entity. And most expensive currently is Uriel at $128, but you can see he's the only one available. Conqueror Yasik, $100, he's the only one available. And then it drops down to $65 for Jared Scar. So just out of curiosity, how many max level golds are there? Oh, more than I thought. So you've got a total of, what is it, 18 different cards? But most of them are 1s or 2s. There's 4 copies of Immortalis, individual copies of a lot of these. So once again, tons of Chaos Legion. We all know how much Chaos Legion was on the market and how much was open, but not very many gold foil legendaries. Okay, let's look next at let's look at the second set of reward cards. The last set of Chaos rewards, 7 to 25 cents for the commons. Your rares, 27 cents up to 80 cents for Riverboat Captain. Looks like the summoners, the archons, are anywhere from 42 cents to 68 cents. Your epics, $1.20 up to $14.83. That's a weird amount. Is that for an individual card? Yes, it is. So almost $15 for an individual card, but if you want to get one that is level 6 max card, you're paying, you know, about $1.50 per card. And then finally your legendary cards, all 12 are represented here. Surprise Kulu is the cheapest at $5.50. That seems very, very cheap. If you don't have a Kulu and you needed one to max it out, it's a good time to pick that one up to $10. So these are pretty affordable. You know, of course, we had to unlock them and spend a decent amount to unlock the cards and put them on the market. So that's why this seems actually even below what it would cost you to unlock the card. Okay, let's look at the gold versions. So your gold commons are going to range from $1.48 up to $9.99. Let's let it load the correct images. There you go. Next, let's look at the gold foil rares. 7-11 up to $69 for Octavia. Your gold epics, $34.95 up to $287. And this is for a max copy, $287. And then finally your legendary cards. There's only 7 of the 12 available on the market. Kulu is at $79.90 up to just $250 for Iziar. You can see individual copies of a lot of these because they were so expensive to unlock. Okay, now let's look at the promo cards. So we went through the prices in part 1, so I won't go through the prices again. Just kind of show you so you can take a look to see how many are on the market and what the total circulating supply is of each of these cards. And now for the gold foil versions. Bruise and the Bear are both above $1, where 2 weeks ago they were both just under $1 for the gold foil. You can see here how rare like Waka is, only 34 copies, and then Lux Vega Gold, only 63 copies. All right, so let's move next to Rift Watchers. So the mini set Rift Watchers, commons go from 1 cent to 9 cents for the Wellparter. Your rares from 3 cents up to 60 cents. So Queen of Crows is usually always the most expensive, but currently it is Sea Stalker that has moved up to 60 cents a copy, and there's only basically 5 copies at that price, and then it jumps to almost $1. So people have fallen in love with the Sea Stalker, it looks like. Moving to the epics, this is what I mentioned in part 1. Notice a card that's missing. There are no regular foil Ilthane summoners available on the marketplace. Usually this is the most expensive. I would say anywhere from like 60 cents to maybe 95 cents, but currently there are no regular foils on the market. And then for your legendary cards, Inevitable continues to be the top card, sitting at $17. But look at some of the prices of the other cards. You know, under $3 for most of these legendary cards. Keep that in mind when we take a look at the gold foils. So your gold foil commons, you're at 21 cents up to 408 for the Lichen Beast, which is very high. And this is for a single copy. You can see combined copies you're looking, this is more realistic at 75 cents a card. So definitely don't pay $4 for that card. Your rares, 85 cents to 713 for Runic Skyclaw. Epics, okay, now we see Ilthane. Ilthane's there at 825, but there's no gold foil Dahlin on the market, so he's usually the low end one, so he's about $3.50 maybe to $4 if he was on the market. But look at the legendaries. You know how cheap the regular foils were. The gold foil legendaries from Rift Watchers are still really holding value. You know, even the low end ones are $30 plus. Inevitable, what is he usually? 150 to 200. He's sitting here at 94. And then you've got like Ra, which is usually one of the least expensive legendary cards. The gold foil is 125. But once again, it's the only one on the market, so that's probably part of the reason. Normally, I would expect this card to be, you know, right around $35 to $40. So, you know, these couple are probably way overpriced. And I think Inevitable is probably about $40 to $50 underpriced. Okay, that's it for Rift Watchers. So now let's get into Modern. So now we're going to look at Rebellion. Just look at the regular foil cards. So your commons still holding 4 or 5 cents for the low end. And then your Archons are still sitting, you know, 63 cents up to 85 cents for Prunda. So the common summoners, the dual summoners, continue to hold value. Your rares, you're looking at 10 cents for the cheapest rares. Up to some of your key rares, you start getting in the 40 to 50 cent range. For your summoners, your Archons, you're looking at Prophet Rose at 81 cents, Fabino at 84, Avina at $1.56, and even the once maligned Nomos is 67 cents. Then your Epics, 51 cents is the floor, then quickly jumps to 74 cents for Eternal Firestorm. Usually the most expensive ones here, Palace, Satha, Captain Fellblade. So why is this one 28.37? Oh, it's the only one. So it's a max level one that's usually 60 cents. Okay, so someone bought all this out, and the only one that's left is the max level copy for just under 29 bucks. And then your Rebellion, your legendaries, went through all the key cards in part 1. Just kind of want to give you guys a visual here so you can see just over 1,000 of each of these in circulation for Rebellion. And then some of them just under 1,000. And then looking at the gold foil versions, getting close to that dollar floor for gold commons for Rebellion. I think we'll hit that sometime in the not too distant future. As you can see, and then also the Archons have really moved up in price from a few months ago, where these were generally, what, $4.50 to $6.50, I think is what I was buying them at for quite a while. And now you can see they're all over $10. People have realized the power of having a dual summoner. Your rares, starting at basically $1.50 to $2 is the floor for gold. Then you start getting up to the summoners and the higher level cards here. Moxie and Rebel at 15, Prophet Rose at 15. Underboss Fabino, is that a max copy? No. Half copy. So he's half maxed and he's sitting there at 62. So if you bought both of these, combined them, you would have a max level Archon for about what, just under $135 for a Fabino. Okay, moving on to Epics. 643 is your cheapest. Up to Harbinger of Chaos, sitting at, wow, 180. He's the only one, and he is max level because it's 10 copies of a gold epic. So $180 for a max gold foil epic, Harbinger of Chaos. And then finally your gold foil legendaries from Rebellion start at just under $40. Up to your top end cards, Tofu at $275, Lorcus just under $300, along with Rage just under $300. All right, let's look at the promo cards. So once again, I went through the promo cards in part 1, one by one, each foil type. So I just want to quickly let you look and see how many are in circulation, how many are currently on the marketplace. Some of these are very, very low, especially like this one is a rare, regular foil. There's only 4 copies on the market, 2 max level, and then 2 of them at level 2. So Rune Anarchist was one that was not bought very much, as you can see here. For this one being a rare, just 592 regular foil compared to Keelan Gaines. There's 955, and this one is a gold foil. But yeah, you can see how rare some of these cards are. The print runs here. Gold foil Fizbo, only 38. Elf gold foil. This is the only one on the market, 63. Now, all these are individual cards on the marketplace. So there are your promos. And now for the reward cards that we are currently getting. So your commons are all sitting at 10 cents a piece. So right around burn value. Your rares, 42 cents up to 49. Your epics, 225 to 259 for Halfling Refugee. And your legendary cards, 1038 for the Jinx, up to $15 for a Galagus. And then your gold foil versions, commons, $2 to $4. Your rares, looks like about 5,000 or so of each gold rare. But that does not mean that's that many that are unlocked. So even like this card, it says there's 5,000 that are out there. There's only 11 that are possible to be traded and sold. So even though it says there are 5,000, these cards are extremely rare if you want to pick these up off the marketplace. Especially when you get into the epics and the legendaries. Like, let's look at Halfling Refugee, one of the favorite cards of everyone. 2,200 gold foil refugees have been pulled, but only 12 have been unlocked and able to be sold. And you need 10 of these to get one maxed. Nope, no max levels. Okay. And then finally, your legendaries. There are no legendary golds on the marketplace. Alright, so now up to Conclave Arcana Core. Let's look at just the regular foil commons. So your commons are pretty much settled in that, I think, 5 to 10 cent, 5 to 11 cent range. For your common cards, decent amount of all these. So these cards, you should have no problem picking these up to level them. But then when you get to rare slot, this is what's interesting, is the fact that your rares are, relatively speaking, for a modern set, for rares to be 22 cents and higher, and especially when you can get starter packs for $1, is just so surprising to me that these cards have really held their value. Looking at the Archons even, they're $1.39 up to $2.44 for Kalia. That is just amazing. So this is really, I think, going to push more and more people into those $1 starter packs, because your downside is so small. I mean, look at, there's even a decent amount of rares that you're hitting 50 cents and above. My wife, I just got her 5 starter packs, and she didn't hit any summoners, but she got a Sheik for 77. She got the Deep Delver. What else did she get? Huntswoman, Kyoto. So even getting cards like this, you're going to get very close to break even. So it's just, and especially if you open multiples of these, 1 or 2 is hit or miss. You start getting 30, 40, 50 of these, you're really going to get very close to getting your money back, or getting maybe even slightly ahead if you can get a few packs that have 2 rares per pack instead of 1. So I usually always say buy the singles that you need, to level your deck and all that. But if you're just starting from scratch and looking to build your deck, there's no big upside to the starter packs. You're not going to get gold foils or epics or legendaries, but it really reduces your downside risk. Rather than paying $4 for a pack and getting like 1 rare and it being, a 38-cent rare. You're guaranteed to get at least 1 rare in those starter packs. So very interested in the starter packs. And yes, I have been picking up a few here and there from time to time. But normally I would say to go for, just buying the individual cards you need. But like I said, if you're on a budget And you can afford $1 here, $1 there. Starter packs, you really don't have that much risk to them. Okay, looking at the epics, so now you're looking at almost $1 for each epic, up to $1.45 for Lucky Long Shot. And then your legendaries, 6.17. So this has moved up a little bit. I think earlier the cheapest was 6 even. So your legendary cards have really held the price. And look at how many have been opened. Almost as many. I think right now we're about the same. The same amount of legendaries have been opened in Conclave that was opened in all of Rebellion. So probably by the time all is said and done, these prints, I would guess, are probably going to be 1,600 to maybe getting close to 2,000 by the end of the sale. So there'll probably be twice as many legendaries from this set as ours Rebellion that's out in the marketplace. But they have really held their value. $6 to $16 is not bad. And we still have the legendary Archons that will be coming out in a few months. Okay, let's look at the gold foils now. So your gold foil from Conclave, you're looking at, just under 90 cents for the cheapest 3. Up to $2.80 for the Giraffe. So that's for your commons. For your gold rares, now you're looking at $3.50-ish for the low end. Up to, look at some of these prices for these gold Archons. I remember when they first launched, I think they were 8 to 10 or 8 to 12. Because I remember picking up, I think, Razzie for 9, and I think him for 12. And they're just slowly ticking up over time. And there's a decent amount out there, 400 of each gold Archon, but just prices are not coming down. The people that have them, for the most part, are hanging on to them. Your gold epics, $10.50 for Endurial, up to $16 for Hodlor. And then your gold legendaries, holding $60 is the floor, up to $129 for Xingjiao, the legendary dragon summoner. Okay, so next let's look at the black foil. So one of the things I looked at in part 1, not just the price, but the mint numbers, how many have been minted, over the last 2 weeks. And I think we went from, what was it, 100 2 weeks ago to 104. So about 4 more of each of these over 2 weeks, but it's just been slowing down. So your rares, you're just above 30, 31 of each black foil rare. Awesome cards though. These cards are just so beautiful. The team just did an awesome job with this set. Here's the epics. You can see 19 to this one just came out at 20. And then legendaries, you're sitting at 6 to 7 of each legendary card. And then for your gold variant, so your gold arcane, this I think is it. I think, isn't this all of them? Yeah, so there's only 9 total that are on the marketplace. So those are your commons. That is your one rare. As you can see, there's only 4 of them so far have been pulled. No epics and no legendaries. And then your black arcane, this is it as well. You've got a couple commons here. You've got rare Deep Delver, rare Kavor, and then 2 epics, sitting at 1,200 and 10,000. And then finally for this are the promo cards. So these are all the promos and the different variants. So let's start with the rare, the Skinwalker. Went through the prices on part 1, but just once again I want to show you guys how many are in circulation. So over 20,000 regular foil, 1,200 gold foil, and of course 40 black, 25 gold arcane, and 10 black arcane. For the legendary Grammel the Hunger, 2,300 regular foil, 167 gold. None of the other variants are for sale. And then Archmage Yabanus, regular foil, 68 have been pulled. Gold foil, there's 4. For the epics, currently just over 1,000 of the epic Tasoshi. $40 for the gold foil, only 69. Black foil, $8.99. There's only been 6 of those. And we got to end it with the pickle. don't we? We have to end it with the pickle. Okay, over 62,000 pickles are in circulation, 9 cents a piece. 3,100 gold foils, $1.68 a piece, and then currently the only other version you can get is the black foil, 99 in circulation. Of course, these are all max level cards sitting at $240. So there you have it, guys. There is this week's Market Watch with all the different variants and everything covered. Hope you guys enjoyed. Exciting times in Splinterlands. Just love the different foil cards, the gold foil black arcanes. Really cool to have, you know, a neat promo card like the pickle out there. Curious to see what Tososhi does for soaking up vouchers. Currently, actually, I am saving up vouchers because I do want to pick up some copies of this card. So, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. As always, if there's anything that you would like me to cover in the future, please leave that comment in the comment section. I will try to make a video or respond to your comment as quickly as I can. And until next time, stay the course, keep on forging, have fun, and I'll see you soon. Take care. 100%. We are back. We are not negative anymore. No more aura. We're just going for resources. Thinking that pretty soon we're going to need a lot of these resources for wagons, crafting and repairing. Not sure what the requirements are going to be, but to me the hardest thing to stack of all these resources, the most rare, and might end up being the most desirable, might be iron. So what I've been doing is taking a little bit of the extra green and swapping it with iron, just in case we need to have close to equal amounts of each resource. Like I said, I have no idea how they're going to do it, if it's going to be equal amounts of each. But for me, I'd like to get as much iron as possible. So just a little extra land bonus at the end of the video. Love you guys. Thank you much so for all the support and everything you guys have done to support the channel. Splinterlands is in a good place. I think land is going to continue to grow along with the economy and the player base and everything else. Great place to be. Glad you're here. Glad to be a part of it. Stay the course. Keep on forging. Have fun. Let's frickin' go.